Yeah, this little experience I'm going to relate to is what I call the draft board. My story actually goes back a lot farther than this, and I'm going to leave out some of the details, but just give you the basis behind it. When I was going to grade school and to high school, I was really caught up in fireworks, both the store-bought kind and the kind some kids like to make at home. And I was making a lot of stuff. But anyway, on one of these occasions, I'm going to relate to you about the draft board, is that in the 1964 and 1965, when I was getting ready to graduate from high school, I was one of the few goofs in high school that actually wanted to enlist to go in the Marine Corps to go to Vietnam. I mean, everybody that I knew that was in high school I was going to school with was trying to do things to get out of the draft or go to college, and so I was one of the few people that wanted to go to Vietnam. I figured I'd get into shape and actually get paid to go over there, go over someplace by the military, get trained and get paid to go over there and blow stuff up. I thought that was, to me, I thought that was pretty cool. So I walked into the Marine recruiting station, happened to be about a block from the high school. So I walked into the Marine recruiting station, of course, like this again, and I said to the Marine recruiter sitting behind the desk, I said, what do I have to do to enlist? Here we go again. What do I have to do to enlist? And the first thing he said to me is, we can't take you. And I said, what do you mean you can't take me? He said, you haven't got a trigger finger, you can't kill anybody. So like goofy high school kid, I said, you mean if I actually killed somebody, then I could go? Yeah. Didn't break a smile, he didn't say anything. And he said, no, you can't go. And I said, because I really wanted to go over there really bad and get paid to blow stuff up, and I thought, well, how about if I volunteered to be a decoy? I could go to the Marine Corps, be a decoy, and for our troops over there, I would go out in the bushes and make noises and be a decoy. Not very funny. I was one of the very few people that actually went to college because I couldn't think of nothing to do. And in my second year of college, I actually got a draft board notice. And they said, come on down, your number came up, we want to process you for the draft. I was being drafted. And I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. So on the draft board notice, they happened to have a phone number. So I called the draft board up and I said, hey, excuse me, got this draft board notice here, and you want me to come down and be drafted? I said, how can I be drafted when, a couple of years ago, when I tried to enlist, you wouldn't take me? And the person on the other side of the phone said, what do you mean we wouldn't take you? I said, well, I was told because I didn't have a trigger finger, I was born without a trigger finger, that I could not enlist, but now I can be drafted? And I said, well, you still got to come out for your physical. And I said, look, I'm going to college right now, I just bought a car, I'm getting pretty decent grades, and I think I got a girlfriend. I'm not interested. And they said I still had to come down anyway. And I said, you've got to be kidding me. So I said, well, how about if I have a doctor, my doctor, family doctor, send you a notice, send you a letter from his office that I didn't have a trigger finger, that I couldn't kill anybody. And they said, well, you can have your doctor write a letter, and that would probably work for us, and that'd be fine. I said, other than that, we're going to have to come down for the physical, because I had one, it was a 60-day letter. So I called the family doctor up, Dr. Blakeman, and I said, hey, doc, this is Dan. He said, hey, how you doing? I'm doing fine. He said, I got this letter from the draft board, and they said, I haven't got this trigger finger, then I tried to enlist, they wouldn't take me, that if you wrote a letter to them, they would use that to satisfy the requirement of me having to come down for a physical. Instead of wasting my time coming back down from Minnesota down to Chicago for this physical, I could send them a letter. He said, I could do a letter for you, no problem. I said, okay, now here's the $64 question. I said, how much is your letter going to cost me? And he said, I can do it for $14. Now, realize this, back in 1967, 1968, $14 was a lot of money. I was paying for my own college education, and I was working part-time, maybe 25, 20 to 30 hours a week as a welder, making tractor parts in Minnesota. And of the time that I was working, $14 was equivalent to about a day's pay. So I said, God, I got to get back to you, Doc. I can't work for a day or a day and a half and pay for this letter. Let me get back to you. So it happened about 2 weeks later. Christmas vacation was coming along, and I went from Minnesota back down to Chicago, back home, and I had to do some Christmas shopping, and I still had to deal with this draft board, this draft board notice. And I went to the mall to do my Christmas shopping, and as I was walking into the mall, there was this big mall entrance with a lot of plate glass windows. And right at the plate glass windows at this mall store was a big bookstore. And right at the entrance of going into this mall, of this bookstore with the big plate glass windows, was a brand new state-of-the-art copy machine. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. So I walked into the bookstore, put my hand down on the copier, and did a couple of photocopies of my hand, took the photocopies, wrote on the photocopy, Dan Holmes does not have the below listed appendages, signed Dr. Donald Duck, and I sent that into the draft board. And about 6 weeks later, I got my draft board reclassification from being draftable to a 1Y classification because Dr. Donald Duck sent in a photocopy of my hand to the draft board, and that was good enough to get me deferred from the draft. That's a true story.